Shut up and sit down.
What's the story, people of the internet? I hope everyone's having a wonderful day so far. There's a lot of football from this week, so I'm just going to jump into it before we start our review of the preview of the upcoming week. So jumping straight into it with the Premier League on Monday, we had Fulham losing 3-0 to Aston Villa. Fulham are struggling quite a bit at the moment, and it could be telling times for Scott Parker, unfortunately, if things don't change. Aston Villa scoring 3 goals again, so they're doing relatively well, especially compared to last season where they did struggle a little bit. So if they can keep it up, they'll be in good form and good hope for the season. Onto the big match from Monday, which was Liverpool versus Arsenal. Liverpool winning 3-1. Andy Robertson ended up scoring, making up for his mistake in the lead up to the Lacazette goal, so saved face a little bit there. So that was Monday's matches. Onto the League Cup, we had Tottenham against Chelsea, ending 1-1, and Tottenham eventually going through 5-4 on penalties. The special one getting one over on Super Frank Lampard, the master beating the student. And I just want to quickly mention Eric Dyer because who just runs off the pitch in the middle of not just a match but a cup match against one of your biggest London rivals and just runs off the pitch, but then nature calls, I suppose, and at least he didn't go full Gary Lineker and leave the evidence on the pitch, but still it's funny that he ran off and, and still managed to come back and score a penalty. So Burnley lost 3-0 to City. Not a lot to say there. It seems like City dominated the game, unfortunately for Burnley. On to the next one, Brighton 0, Manchester United 3. Thanks to this man right here, Mr. What's the Matter, the special one, scoring his 50th goal for Manchester United, and sort of proving the doubters wrong from Saturday after what happened with the penalty. So good news for Manchester United there. Obviously there's still a couple of things that could be improved on, but a good showing all round. Everton win 4-1 against West Ham. Another Dominic Calvert-Lewin hat-trick. So he's had a goal, a hat-trick, a goal and a hat-trick in his last 4 games, which is absolutely incredible. I mean, we can talk about Richarlison, we can talk about James Rodriguez, Alan or Doucouré, who they've brought in, but DCL, he just keeps on keeping on, really. So next I want to talk about the German Super Cup. Bayern running out winners 3-2 against Dortmund. Very interesting match because Bayern were up 2-0, Dortmund level it 2-2. Haaland up 1-on-1 with Neuer. Neuer makes a fantastic save and then Kimmich puts away the winner, and another trophy for Bayern Munich. They just look incredible at the moment, except for the little blip against Hoffenheim over the weekend where they lost 4-1. But so I want to talk a little bit about the Champions League because it is the Champions League draw tomorrow. And I just wanted to do a special mention for, and excuse the pronunciation, but Ferencváros, believe they're a Hungarian team. First time that they've qualified in 25 years, after drawing 3-3 or 0-0 on the night with Molde and winning on away goals. So credit to them. So they're one of the teams that are in the pot. The pots have been announced, and the draw is going to happen tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see how everything goes. Does anyone else hear that noise? Good evening everyone. We interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you an emergency broadcast. There has been a FIFA warning placed not only into your area, but as a global problem. Now, what is a FIFA warning? It is an annual event that is an anomaly amongst scientists. It is not really understood, unfortunately, but it has been going on for many, many years, as can be seen by this evidence here, and even in FIFA 07. Now, we also had one in FIFA 19, and as well last year we had FIFA 20. Now, what can you expect with this FIFA warning? Well, you can expect to see less of your football supporting relatives, and you can expect many, many broken controllers. So please, look after your loved ones, and do be careful. My name is Simon Simons for the TMF Broadcasting Company. Please look after yourselves. Did we make it? Did we survive the FIFA warning? Are we okay? I think we survived. Is this controller intact? 2 others weren't so lucky, but I think we're okay. Hopefully. So in case any of you didn't understand that little bit there, the early access to FIFA came out today, which is now Thursday, and so I was trying to do the video in 2 parts. And I thought that would be a fun little transition there. I also wanted to introduce a new segment that I want to start doing, if at all possible, but is the Majors FIFA tip of the week. For all you people that are just getting FIFA, if you want a nice little player, get Jack Grealish. He's scored 15 goals in 4 games for me, so he's only like 3,000 coins. I would go for him though. So anyway, after that little FIFA-ness out of the way, let's get into today's matches, now on Thursday, and let's get into the weekend. So today, more League Cup matches. So Brentford knocked Fulham out 3-0, bit of an old championship rivalry. They got revenge for the playoff final earlier this year. Stoke knocked out Aston Villa 1-0. Now, I would like to say that Aston Villa couldn't do it on a rainy night in Stoke, however, it was at Aston Villa, so turns out Stoke can do it on a rainy night in Birmingham. And then the big game of the round was a repeat of the Premier League match on Monday, which was Liverpool against Arsenal. Just a refresher, on Monday it finished 3-1 to Liverpool, and today it finished 0-0 with Arsenal winning on penalties 5-4. So Arsenal progress into the next round, and wouldn't you know it, they've got Manchester City in the next round. So they just can't catch a break at the moment. But then again, it could be their time to continue on from that. So maybe Manchester United will see them in the final. So onto the Premier League for the weekend. So we have Chelsea against Crystal Palace. I think Chelsea are a bit hit and miss at the moment, but I think they should be able to beat Palace. If Palace can do what they did against Manchester United, then it might be a different story. But after losing to Everton last week, I just think that Chelsea's just going to be too strong for them, unfortunately. So I can see this being a Chelsea win, and quite a convincing win, especially because they'll want to bounce back and prove what they're made of. We've got Everton against Brighton. I can't see anything other than an Everton win. They're just too on form at the moment. Dominic Calvert-Lewin for another hat-trick maybe, especially after Manchester United beat Brighton 3-0 in the League Cup. I can just see Everton running riot here, in all honesty. It's Everton, they're just too strong at the moment. Leeds versus Manchester City. Now, everything on paper would lead to a Manchester City win. However, Leeds did win last week, City didn't. Now, City could come out fighting and could want to prove that it's their time, but Leeds could give them a run for their money, you know. It could be interesting to see what happens there. So, So I think it's going to be a close game, probably very high scoring because of the way that Leeds are going at the moment. But I think City is still going to edge it. Newcastle against Burnley. Neither team are prolific scorers, so I can see it being very close, especially because Burnley's defence is very organised. Nick Pope is just such a good goalkeeper. And so I think it's going to be a very defensive game, maybe a 1-0, a 2-1, 1-1, something like that. I can see it being a draw, actually. Maybe a 1-1 is a good shout, actually. So just to run back through those games, Chelsea versus Palace is streaming on Peacock. Everton versus Brighton is on NBC Sports Network and Universo. Leeds versus City is on NBC Proper and Universo. And Newcastle versus Burnley back onto Peacock. So into Sunday's games, we have 6 games on Sunday, starting with Leicester versus West Ham. Leicester 5-2 winners against City. West Ham just getting embarrassed by Everton in the League Cup. And I mean, they did win 4-0 against Wolves though, so they had a very imbalanced week really. I can't see anything other than a Leicester win, but West Ham could break them close, just like they did with Arsenal. So I think I'm going to say maybe a 4-2 to Leicester. Leicester can be a bit leaky, as we saw with 2 goals against City, but Jamie Vardy, just what can we say about the man, really? Southampton versus West Brom. An interesting game in the fact that it's probably going to be very low scoring, probably a 1-1, a 2-1. A 1-0, a 2-0, especially because if we look at last week's results, Southampton did win 1-0 against Burnley thanks to Danny Ings, and West Brom were 3-0 up against Chelsea, 3-3. They just seem like 2 very similar teams, 2 peas in a pod, and I think they're going to cancel each other out. So I'm going to say if there is a winner, it's going to be a 2-1. So we've got Arsenal against Sheffield United. I really want to see Sheffield United continue the form that they did last season. They're just not stepping on the gas at the moment. And I think Arsenal are just going to take full advantage of that. Aubameyang, Lacazette, they're just going to switch it on, unfortunately. And I can see Sheffield United maybe even getting beaten 3-0, 3-1. They just haven't found the gear that they were in last year. Wolves versus Fulham. So this is interesting because Wolves lost 4-0 last week, as we mentioned earlier. And then Fulham also lost 3-0. So 2 teams that are finding it difficult to find their form at the moment. And so is it going to be a ball draw, or is it going to be like a 4-3, 5-4, something like that? I can see it being a ball draw, maybe a 0-0. Wolves do have those players though that can just switch it on. So maybe against Fulham, especially after what happened to them against Brentford today, Wolves could just switch it around and make their comeback and go up the table. It's definitely a possibility. I think Fulham is the fixture that they'll want to do that in. So next match, got Manchester United against Spurs. This is the big one for the weekend. 2 teams that are probably going to be there or thereabouts in the top 4 this season. Even with my biased opinion, I'm not going to say challenging for the title. It's also rumoured to be the first game that Gareth Bale is going to be fit for. So it'll be interesting because he'll want to make his mark. How is he going to play under Mourinho against United? It'll be interesting for sure. But I think he's got a point to prove, and I think people forget just how prolific he was for Madrid. Not just in the Champions League final where he did that outrageous bicycle kick against the legend that is Loris Karius, but just in general. I mean, in the matches that he played, the goals to match ratio is incredible for a winger, because it's not like he was a striker the whole time. And people keep saying he's going on the golf course and etc, etc, etc. There is also the United connection in the fact that we were trying to get him on loan for many, many, many seasons. So I think this is going to be an interesting one. If United can play the way that they did against Brighton, midweek, not on the weekend, then it should be quite interesting. And Ole does seem to know how to close out the likes of Mourinho. So I'm going to predict 2-1 to Manchester United. I think Bale will score though. I think that's going to happen. But Kane and Son have both been very prolific recently. So they did just knock Chelsea out of the cup. They did draw 1-0 with Newcastle. They're another team that's been very up and down on their form. So, but I'm predicting a United win 2-1. And the final game, Aston Villa versus Liverpool. It's got to be Liverpool's, hasn't it, really? I mean, Liverpool, they'll want to prove a point after losing to Arsenal. And, I mean, Aston Villa lost against Stoke. I just think, even though they beat Fulham 3-0, I just think that Liverpool are just going to be too strong for them. They could do a Leeds and put the knife to them, but I just think that Liverpool are too strong, and I think it's going to be a 3-0, maybe a 3-1. I think Liverpool are going to run away with it, really. So, anyway, let's go back through those matches. Leicester versus West Ham is streaming on Peacock. So is Southampton versus West Brom. So is Arsenal against Sheffield United. Wolves versus Fulham is on NBC Sports Network or Universo. United versus Spurs is also on NBC Sports Network or Telemundo. And then Aston Villa versus Liverpool, also on NBC Sports Network and Universo. And then I've got 3 more matches that I just want to mention around the leagues this week. We've got Lyon versus Marseille. Not a huge match because PSG's just going to run away with it. We all know that. But at the same time, a big rivalry. 2 of the bigger teams in France, so could be quite interesting. Especially to see how Lyon is going to do without Memphis Depay, since he has gone to Barcelona. So are they going to be the powerhouse that they were, just like how I predicted Leipzig to struggle without Timo Werner? Into the Serie A, we have Inter Milan versus Lazio. 2 very good teams, but Inter Milan are just free-flowing, free-scoring, free everything at the moment. Wouldn't surprise me if they outclassed Lazio, maybe a 4-2, a 5-2, something like that. And then Juventus versus Napoli. Napoli is sort of a sleeping giant at the moment, and I don't know if they've quite woken up, but Juventus with Cristiano Ronaldo and everything like that, it's Juventus's game to lose, but Napoli could surprise them. I'm still going to predict a Juventus win here. So that's my roundup of the matches this week. I did scour the other leagues a little bit and couldn't see any big matches. There's no Old Firm derby, there's no Eredivisie derby or anything like that. So nothing that I could really see. The only one that caught my eye a little bit was LA Galaxy versus San Jose, just because it is a California derby, but it's not the El Tráfico. It's not Seattle versus Portland, but could be still interesting. It's still California, a bit of a butting of heads, you know. So next week, I think I'm going to do, as promised, one of the videos. I think I'm going to do a UCL draw, since that did happen today. Go through the different groups and give my predictions, because it's Internationals week next week. So England has a friendly, I think it's against Wales, and then we are in the Nations League. So I'll probably do a rundown of the Nations League leading up to that match, which I believe is next Saturday. But like I said, I'm going to do a Champions League group breakdown, do my predictions in anticipation for the return of the Champions League. So keep an eye out for that one. I will also try and do a video on the transfer window. Might try and bundle that in together with the internationals, because I don't think there's any huge ones. I think it's just the fact that it's the Nations League. So we'll see how that goes, but keep an eye out for the Champions League one. That should be at the beginning of next week. So I hope everyone is doing well, staying safe, keeping out of trouble, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you.